That 70s show wasn't just nostalgia. It was a 14-year-old lying her way into a role, a basement built deliberately wrong, and a car that cost more than the actors. Nobody actually smoked anything in those circles. One accent was completely fake, and the real ending, Fox buried it for something safer. These are 20 weird facts about that 70s show. And the bonus, a deleted scene so inappropriate the network locked it away and pretended it never happened. Hang out down the street. This gets messy. Number 20. Mila Kunis lied about her age to get cast.
You know when you laugh, you get a little wrinkle in your zit.
It's got personality.
Jackie Burkhart needed to be a teenager, but casting directors wanted someone 18 or older to avoid child labor restrictions and complicated shooting schedules. Mila Kunis walked into the audition at 14 years old, barely looking old enough to drive. When they asked her age, she said something technically true, but deliberately misleading. "I'll be 18 on my birthday." She didn't mention that birthday was 4 years away. The casting team assumed she meant she was 17, turning 18 soon. They hired her on the spot. Kunis showed up to the first table read, and producers started noticing things. She had a chaperone. Her hours were restricted. Someone mentioned her school schedule. That's when they realized they'd been played. She was 14, a freshman in high school, far too young for the role they'd cast her in. They were furious, felt betrayed, and considered firing her immediately. But they'd already announced the cast, done publicity photos, and Kunis had nailed the audition. She'd brought something to Jackie that none of the older actresses had captured, the entitled rich girl attitude mixed with genuine vulnerability and perfect comedic timing. So they kept her, adjusted the shooting schedule to accommodate child labor laws, and made it work. Kunis later admitted she knew exactly what she was doing, that the lie was calculated. She wanted the role badly enough to risk everything, and it paid off. Jackie became one of the most memorable characters on the show, and Kunis launched a career that's still going strong decades later, all because she lied about when she'd turn 18. Number 19. The show was almost set in the 60s.
Down the street, the same old thing.
The original pitch wasn't called That 70s Show. It was Teenage Wasteland, and it was set in 1967. Creators Bonnie and Terry Turner loved the idea of teenagers in the 60s, the music, the Cultural Revolution, the Vietnam War backdrop. They shopped it to networks with confidence. Every single one passed. CBS said no, NBC said no, ABC said no. The feedback was unanimous, 60s nostalgia was played out. Overdone, audiences were tired of it. The Wonder Years had already mined that territory successfully. The Turners were frustrated but not defeated. They sat down and asked themselves what decade hadn't been explored yet, the 70s. Far enough in the past to be nostalgic, but not so far that it felt ancient. Disco, bell-bottoms, wood paneling, the tail end of Vietnam, Watergate, a fascinating cultural moment nobody had really captured in a sitcom. They rewrote the pitch, changed the setting to 1976, renamed it That 70s Show. Suddenly, networks were interested. Fox picked it up almost immediately. The same premise that failed as a 60s show succeeded as a 70s show because of timing. The audience that grew up in the 70s was now in their 30s and 40s, had disposable income, nostalgia for their youth, and nobody had given them their version of the Wonder Years yet. One decade made all the difference between rejection and a hit. The Turners later said if they'd stuck with the 60s, the show never would have existed. Sometimes success is just about finding the right moment in time. Number 18. The circle scenes used no special effects.
So is Red still thinking about giving you the car, maybe?
It's 1 in the morning, I'm not alone. I'm not alone, this is great.
The most iconic visual element of that 70s show was the circle. The camera would spin around the basement as characters passed something and talked with glassy eyes and nonsensical conversations. It looked like sophisticated camera work, maybe green screen or CGI compositing. It was actually incredibly simple and entirely practical. The actors sat on a large rotating platform, a lazy Susan built specifically for these scenes. Crew members would manually spin the platform while the camera stayed stationary in the center. That's it. No computers, no post-production magic. Just a rotating platform, a fisheye lens to distort the image slightly, and colored lighting to create atmosphere. The actors would sit, pretend to pass something, and blow out normal breath while the platform spun beneath them. The fisheye lens made their faces look slightly warped, and the lighting created that hazy, dreamlike quality. Production spent more time perfecting the lighting than anything else. They tested dozens of color combinations before settling on the warm, amber tones that became signature. The simplicity was genius. It looked trippy and expensive, but cost almost nothing once the platform was built. And it worked so well that audiences fully believed the characters were smoking marijuana, even though nothing was there. The acting sold it completely. The glassy-eyed stares, the rambling conversations, the delayed reactions, all performed stone-cold sober on a spinning platform. The circle scenes became so popular that every episode needed at least one, and the platform got more use than any other set piece on the show. Number 17. They never actually smoked anything.
Okay, champ, whatever you...
Well, you're getting a party, and best of all, it's a surprise.
I just realized Donna's older than...
Fox was terrified of the circle scenes, terrified of parent groups, terrified of censors, terrified of lawsuits. They made one thing absolutely clear from day one. No marijuana, nothing resembling marijuana, nothing smokable whatsoever on set, ever. The actors couldn't even hold prop joints or fake cigarettes because network standards wouldn't allow it. So, the circle scenes featured actors passing around literally nothing. They'd reach out, grab air, bring their hands to their mouths, and blow out regular breath. No smoke, no vapor, no props. Pure pantomime. The actors had to sell the illusion through performance alone. They practiced the handoffs endlessly, making sure the timing looked natural, making sure it seemed like something was being passed. They studied how people actually smoke, the pauses, the inhales, the way you hold your breath before exhaling. Then they replicated all of it without anything in their hands. The camera work helped. The fisheye lens and spinning platform distracted from the fact that nothing physical existed. And the actors committed fully, playing stones so convincingly that nobody questioned it. Fox still received hundreds of complaint letters from concerned parents, claiming the show was promoting drug use, teaching kids how to get high, and glorifying marijuana. The network had to release statements explaining that nothing illegal was shown, no drugs appeared on screen, the actors weren't smoking anything, but the complaints kept coming because the illusion worked too well. The show made people believe something was happening that never actually was, all through acting, camera tricks, and a rotating platform. Number 16. Wilmer Valderrama's accent was completely fake.
Help! Americans, please help me.
It's pronounced America.
That's what I said, America.
Fez showed up speaking with a thick, vaguely foreign accent that nobody could quite place. It sounded European, maybe Middle Eastern, possibly South American, intentionally ambiguous. The joke was that nobody knew where he was from, and the accent sold that mystery perfectly. But here's what most fans never knew. That wasn't Wilmer Valderrama's real voice. At all. Valderrama was born in Miami, grew up in Los Angeles, spoke perfect American English with zero accent. The voice he used for Fez was a complete fabrication, created specifically for the audition and maintained for 8 full seasons. Valderrama created the accent by blending multiple influences, a little Spanish, some Italian, hints of Middle Eastern inflection, all mixed together into something that didn't exist anywhere in the real world. During the audition, he committed to it so fully that casting directors never questioned it. They assumed he was actually foreign, that the accent was real. Even after he got the role, he stayed in character around the cast and crew for the first few weeks. When he finally spoke in his normal voice during a break, the other actors were stunned. Some thought he was doing a bit. Others felt betrayed, like they'd been lied to. But Valderrama knew what he was doing. If he broke character, if everyone heard his real voice constantly, it would be harder to believe Fez. So he kept the accent on set, only dropping it when cameras weren't around, and he was completely alone. That level of commitment is rare, and it paid off. Fez became one of the most beloved characters on the show, and nobody ever questioned the authenticity of that accent. Number 15. The basement was built. Wrong on purpose.
Best friends offering to help each other. We always have to remember this moment.
Teach you how to do this. Was it those damn Beatles? All you need is love. All you need is a job.
Production. Designers showed the Foreman basement plans to actual architects and contractors. Every single one pointed out problems. The ceiling was too low for a real basement. The walls didn't connect properly. The placement of the washer and dryer made no sense. The windows were at the wrong height. The stairs came from nowhere and led nowhere logical. Everything about it violated basic architectural principles and building codes. The designers smiled and said, "Perfect. Build it exactly like this." Because they weren't building a real basement. They were building a teenage fantasy. The basement needed to feel like a separate world, a place that existed outside normal rules. If it looked like a real, functional basement, it would feel ordinary, forgettable, just another set. By making it deliberately wrong, slightly off in ways most viewers couldn't consciously identify, they created something that felt magical. The low ceiling made it feel intimate, like a clubhouse. The weird wall angles created visual interest. The illogical layout didn't matter because it felt right emotionally. Teenagers don't care if the basement makes architectural sense. They care if it feels like theirs. The Vista Cruiser in the driveway was positioned so it could be seen through the basement window, even though that made no geographic sense. The laundry area was visible in every shot, even though in a real basement it would be partitioned off. Function followed fun, and the set became one of the most iconic spaces in television history. Not because it was realistic, but because it wasn't. The wrongness made it perfect. Number 14. Red's dumbass. Insults were toned down from the script.
I have never been prouder. It's like watching you hit your first home run.
I can do that too.
Kurtwood Smith read the original pilot script and had concerns. Red Foreman, the hard-ass Korean War veteran father, was written as genuinely cruel. Not funny, strict, actually mean. He called Eric things that went beyond dumbass, threatened violence in specific and disturbing ways, said things to Kitty that bordered on abusive. Smith understood the character was supposed to be tough, but the original version crossed lines. He talked to the creators about softening it, making Red harsh but ultimately loving. They agreed, but then Fox's Standards and Practices Department got involved. Network censors went through the scripts with red pens, literally. They flagged language, threats, anything that could generate complaints. Red's original catchphrase wasn't "foot in your ass." It was much more graphic, much more violent. The censors said absolutely not. Too intense for primetime. So, writers scrambled to find alternatives that conveyed the same energy without explicit violence. "Foot in your ass" became the compromise. Still threatening, but cartoonish enough to pass standards. Smith made the toned-down version work through pure intimidation. His delivery, his 1,000-yard stare, his ability to make "dumbass" sound like the worst insult imaginable. He created a character that felt dangerous without actually being dangerous. Red became the dad everyone quoted, everyone loved, everyone kind of feared, and it happened because the network made them soften what was originally written. Sometimes censorship improves things by forcing creativity. Number 13. Topher Grace wanted out. After season 7.
So have a good trip.
No, before that.
You heard me.
Hey guys, Randy dated a man. I'm okay with it.
You're so cool to be okay with it.
Eric Foreman was the protagonist, the center of that 70s show, the character everything revolved around. But by season 7, Topher Grace was done. He'd been on the show since 1998 and had spent his entire 20s playing a teenager in a basement. His film career was taking off with Traffic, Ocean's 11, and In Good Company. He wanted to be a movie star, not a TV actor stuck in Wisconsin. Grace went to producers and network executives with a request. Let me out after season 7. They panicked. The show was still successful, still making money, and still had a devoted audience. Losing the main character would be catastrophic. They offered Grace more money. He said no. They offered reduced filming schedules. He said no. They offered creative control. He said no. Grace was determined to leave and had made up his mind. So they negotiated his exit. Eric would leave for Africa, a teaching position that required a year commitment. They'd write him out but leave the door open for potential returns. The final season tried to survive without Eric Foreman and struggled badly. The ensemble couldn't carry the show without its center. New character Randy was brought in to fill the void, and fans hated him. The chemistry was off, the dynamics broken. Grace did return for the finale, but the damage was done. The show's final season is its weakest because the star wanted out and nobody could stop him. Sometimes success isn't enough to keep people from chasing bigger dreams. Number 12, Fox. Almost canceled it. After season 1.
So, what's the deal with the Vista Cruiser?
The deal is there is no deal yet.
Shh. You are a bitch.
I put a roof over your head.
That 70s show premiered in August 1998 to mediocre ratings. Not terrible, but nothing special. Fox executives looked at the numbers and saw a problem. The show wasn't breaking through, wasn't finding a large audience, and wasn't generating buzz. Throughout season 1, ratings stayed flat. Decent enough to keep airing, but not strong enough to guarantee renewal. Fox held multiple meetings about whether to cancel it. The show was expensive, the cast was growing, and the numbers didn't justify the investment. But someone looked deeper at the demographics. While overall viewership was average, the show was culling it with viewers aged 12 to 34. The exact demographic advertisers wanted most. Young people weren't just watching, they were obsessed, quoting it, making it part of their identity. Fox realized they had something valuable even if the total numbers weren't huge. They renewed it for season 2 with the understanding that it needed to grow or face cancellation. Season 2 changed everything. Word of mouth kicked in. More people discovered it. The ratings climbed steadily, and suddenly, that 70s show was a solid performer. By season 3, it was a certified hit, but it came within weeks of being a one-season wonder that disappeared forever. The difference between cancellation and 8 seasons was a closer look at who was watching, not just how many. Sometimes survival is about finding the right argument, the right angle, the right executive who understands your value. Number 11. Fez's real name was never written.
It's dumbass.
Calling the cops.
Oh, yes, we know.
Oh no, I got a redhead. Please don't cross me, please.
In the pilot episode, the gang meets Fez for the first time. Someone asks his name, and he says something long, complicated, and completely unintelligible. Everyone agrees to just call him Fez, which stands for Foreign Exchange Student. It was supposed to be a throwaway joke in one episode, but then the writers realized they'd never actually decided what his real name was. They'd written the scene without planning ahead. So they had a choice: come up with a name retroactively, or turn the mystery into a running gag. They chose the gag. Every time someone asked Fez's real name throughout 8 seasons, something would interrupt. A bell would ring. Someone would start talking over him. A loud noise would drown him out. The joke evolved over time, becoming more elaborate and absurd. By the final season, it was clear the writers would never reveal it. Fans obsessed over it, created theories, and tried to piece together clues from various episodes. But there was nothing to find because nothing existed. To this day, no script, no writer's notes, no behind-the-scenes document reveals Fez's actual name. Wilmer Valderrama has been asked in hundreds of interviews, and he doesn't know either because it was never written. The character existed for 8 years without an official name, and that accidental mystery became one of the show's most enduring elements. Sometimes the best running jokes are the ones you stumble into by not planning properly. Number 10. The Vista Cruiser cost more than most guest stars.
Eric, not in this life.
Car is a responsibility.
You'll need insurance. You have any idea?
Your corners all circle to the left, all around that hall. Circle to the left, all around you go. When you're there and then, do an Allen and left through the corner.
The Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser wasn't a loaner from a car collector or a cheap prop from a junkyard. Production designers wanted the perfect car, the vehicle that screamed 1970s teenage freedom. They searched for weeks, looking at dozens of Vista Cruisers in various conditions. Most were rusted, damaged, or modified in ways that didn't work for television. Finally, they found one in decent shape, bought it outright, and then spent a fortune restoring it to perfect condition. New paint, engine work, interior restoration, the works. The total cost exceeded what the show paid most recurring guest stars for entire season arcs. Network executives saw the invoice and lost their minds. They demanded explanations for why a car cost so much. Producers argued the Vista Cruiser was essentially a main character, appearing in almost every episode, and was crucial to the show's identity. The distinctive glass roof, the wood paneling, the sheer size of it, the car was iconic and needed to be perfect. For 8 seasons, production maintained that car like it was precious cargo. Regular maintenance, touch-ups, protection from weather. When filming wrapped, the Vista Cruiser was sold at auction for significantly more than the restoration cost. A fan bought it and drove it to that 70s show conventions. The car outlived the show and became a piece of television history, all because production decided it was worth investing more in a prop car than in human actors. Number 9, Leo was written for Tommy Chong. Specifically,
Yeah, man. Sure.
Okay, you got the job, man.
Just like that.
Are you sure it was this hot?
Tommy Chong wasn't cast for an existing character. The character was created for him. When Chong became available in Season 2, the writers saw an opportunity they couldn't pass up. Here was one half of the most famous stoner comedy duo in history, Cheech and Chong, an icon who defined marijuana humor for a generation. And he was interested in doing television. They didn't audition him for a generic role. They sat down and built Leo Chinquake around exactly who Tommy Chong was in real life, just slightly exaggerated. Leo was written as a perpetually confused, good-hearted burnout who owned the photo hut and gave terrible advice while somehow stumbling into wisdom. It was essentially Chong playing a version of himself, turned up slightly for comedy. The writers gave him lines that played to his strengths, situations where his natural timing and delivery would shine. Chong didn't have to act much. He just had to show up and be Tommy Chong, and it worked perfectly. His scenes became instant classics, quotable, and beloved. The character was so popular that Leo became a recurring presence throughout the series, showing up whenever the writers needed someone to represent the ultimate endpoint of teenage rebellion, the guy who never left the 70s behind. Chong later said it was the easiest job he'd ever had because he wasn't really playing anyone. He was just existing as himself while cameras rolled, and audiences loved it because there was no artifice, no performance. It was genuine. And genuineness is always funny when the person is naturally entertaining. Number 8, the show filmed before a live audience that hated the circle scenes.
Film. Are you sure it was this hot? Okay, you got the job, man.
Every episode of that 70s show was filmed before a live studio audience. The laughs you hear during most scenes are genuine reactions from 300 people watching the action unfold. But the circle scenes created a unique problem. The studio audience couldn't see what viewers at home would see. They watched actors sitting on a rotating platform, talking to each other in character, but without the camera tricks, lighting effects, or context that made the scenes work on television. From the audience perspective, it was just people sitting and having a slightly weird conversation. The reaction was always the same, confused silence. People didn't laugh, didn't react, just sat there wondering what was happening. The spinning platform made noise. The lighting changed dramatically. but none of it translated to comedy for the live audience. They couldn't see through the fisheye lens, couldn't experience the disorienting camera movement, couldn't feel the stoned atmosphere the scenes created. They just saw actors being kind of silly without understanding why. This forced producers to make a difficult decision. Add a laugh track to circle scenes. The only time fake laughter appears in that 70s show is during circles, because the studio audience didn't respond properly. Sound editors would watch the finished scenes with all the effects, decide where laughs should go, and add them artificially. It felt dishonest, but necessary. Without the laugh track, circle scenes would air in dead silence, culling the comedy momentum. Sometimes what works on camera doesn't work in person, and you have to bridge that gap with technology.
No. How much is that refrigerator?
And I want what's left of my $40.
Kelso.
Get this puppy on the air and see what people think.
Call me tonight at 8 o'clock.
But that's when Chico and the Man is on.
Number 7. Ashton Kutcher. Almost quit for Punk'd. When Punk'd premiered on MTV in 2003, it became an instant phenomenon. Ashton Kutcher went from sitcom actor to cultural icon overnight. He was producing, hosting, and creating the show that defined early 2000s prank culture. Everyone was watching it. Everyone was quoting it. Everyone was terrified of being punked. And Kutcher was at the center of it all, suddenly more famous for pranking celebrities than for playing Kelso. He went to that 70s show producers with a proposal. Let me focus on Punk'd. Reduce my role or let me leave entirely. The timing was terrible. That 70s show was in the middle of successful seasons, Kelso was a crucial character, and losing Kutcher would damage the ensemble. But Kutcher had leverage. He was now the biggest star on the show, had opportunities everywhere, could leave if he wanted. Fox panicked and opened negotiations. They offered him significantly more money per episode. They offered reduced shooting schedules so he could film both shows simultaneously. They gave him creative input on Kelso storylines. Basically, they did whatever it took to keep him. Kutcher stayed, but his commitment was visibly split. Some episodes he barely appeared in, written out with flimsy excuses about Kelso being elsewhere. His energy on set changed, distracted by his other projects. The cast noticed and weren't thrilled, but nobody could blame him for chasing success. Punk'd made Kutcher a household name in a way that 70s show never could. He honored his contract, but his heart was elsewhere, and the show suffered for it even as they pretended everything was fine.
January.
You got style, that's what all the girls say.
Go back in time to the 80s.
Hey, good morning.
Okay, people.
Number 6, the failed spin-off. That 80s show called future plans. Fox executives looked at that 70s show's success and saw a franchise opportunity. Why stop at the 70s? They could do every decade, create a nostalgic universe that spanned generations. That 80s show was greenlit quickly, developed with high hopes, and positioned as the next chapter in decade-based comedy. It premiered in January 2002 with massive promotion, positioned right after that 70s show to inherit the audience. Fox was so confident they had already started preliminary development on that 90s show. That 80s show bombed spectacularly. Critics hated it, calling it a pale imitation that missed what made the original work. Audiences rejected it immediately. The ratings were catastrophic, dropping week after week. By May, Fox canceled it after just 13 episodes, one of the biggest failures of the season. The cancellation cooled all plans for the franchise. That 90s show development stopped immediately. Fox became gun-shy about anything related to decade nostalgia. The failure taught an important lesson. That 70s show worked because of the specific alchemy of cast, writing, and timing. You couldn't just copy the formula to a different decade and expect success. The 80s didn't have the same warm nostalgia factor. The cast had zero chemistry, and the writing felt forced. Fox had assumed the concept was foolproof when really, it was the execution that mattered. The franchise died with that 80s show, and decades passed before Netflix successfully revived the concept with that 90s show in 2023, learning from Fox's mistakes.
Welcome to 1983, Donna and Hyde's wedding.
भूल गया
शीशे की तरह आपका मतलब है
Number 5. Laura Prepon and Danny Masterson's Scientology cause set tension. Laura Prepon and Danny Masterson were both deeply involved in Scientology during the show's run. They'd been recruited young, were committed members, and like many Scientologists, they believed in sharing their faith. On set, they would talk about Scientology principles, invite cast members to events, and offer to introduce people to the organization. Some actors were politely uninterested, others found it uncomfortable, felt pressured, and tried to avoid conversations about it. The religious tension was never discussed publicly. Everyone smiled for cameras and press, but behind the scenes, it created divisions. Cast members who declined Scientology invitations noticed Prepon and Masterson becoming distant, less friendly between takes. It wasn't openly hostile, just a cooling of relationships. Some actors started avoiding the two of them during breaks, eating lunch elsewhere, and staying in separate areas of the set. The ensemble that looked so tight on screen was actually fractured by religious differences nobody wanted to acknowledge. Production was aware, but couldn't intervene. Religion is protected, and as long as it didn't interfere with filming, they stayed out of it. Years later, after Masterson's arrest and conviction, the cast's silence about their relationships during the show made more sense. There were fractures, tensions, and divisions that nobody felt comfortable discussing publicly. Prepon eventually distanced herself from Scientology, but during the show's run, it was a significant presence that affected cast dynamics in ways viewers never saw. The happy family on screen was more complicated off screen than anyone wanted to admit.
Half-hour shows, but then I heard about this show that was created by the Turners, Ronnie and Terry, who did Third Rock. I mean, I was a big fan of that show.
I was in between my junior.
Number 10.
Number 4. The final season was filmed under contract disputes. By the end of season 7, most of the cast wanted out. Topher Grace had already negotiated his exit. Ashton Kutcher was focused on his production company and film career. The rest of the cast felt they had outgrown their roles, wanted to pursue other opportunities, and were ready to move on. But Fox had contracts, legal, binding contracts that required the actors to complete 8 seasons. When cast members started talking about leaving, Fox's legal team sent a clear message: fulfill your obligations or face lawsuits for breach of contract. The final season was filmed under this tension. Actors showing up because they legally had to, not because they wanted to be there. The energy on set shifted dramatically. The playfulness from earlier seasons disappeared. Between takes, actors retreated to dressing rooms instead of hanging out together. The camaraderie that made the show special felt manufactured, forced for the cameras. You can see it on screen if you know what to look for. The performances are technically fine, but lack the spark, the genuine affection that made the ensemble work. Wilmer Valderrama later admitted the final season was difficult for everyone. They were going through the motions, collecting paychecks, counting down episodes until they could leave. The writers tried to compensate with bigger storylines, more dramatic moments, anything to recapture the magic. But you can't force chemistry, can't manufacture enthusiasm. The final season exists as a contractual obligation fulfilled, not as a creative triumph. And everyone involved knew it, even if nobody said it publicly until years later. Number 3. The show's 70s. Details were often wrong.
Wanted to talk to someone about the pitfalls of marriage. And we have some little issues. For example, Eric's
Watermelons! Is what Moses said to the Egyptians?
That 70s show was supposedly meticulous about period accuracy. Set designers filled scenes with era-appropriate props. Costume designers studied 70s fashion. Writers referenced real events from the decade. But if you pay attention, the show is filled with anachronisms, historical errors, and details that don't match the timeline. Technology that didn't exist yet appears regularly. Cultural references from the wrong years get dropped casually. Fashion from different periods of the 70s appear simultaneously, even though the show has a specific timeline. The show begins in May 1976 and progresses roughly in real time through 8 seasons. ending on New Year's Eve, 1979. But characters reference movies that didn't come out until the 80s. They wear styles that weren't popular until later. Songs play in the background that hadn't been released yet. Sharp-eyed fans noticed these errors constantly, but the creators didn't care. They admitted openly that historical accuracy was secondary to comedy. If a joke worked better with an 80s reference, they used it anyway. The show was more about the feeling of the 70s than the actual reality of the decade. They wanted the aesthetic, the vibe, the cultural memory of the era, not a documentary-level recreation. This frustrated history buffs and 70s experts who noticed every mistake. But for most viewers, the errors didn't matter. The show felt like the 70s, even when it wasn't technically accurate. Sometimes emotional truth matters more than factual truth, and that 70s show chose emotion every time. Number 2. Mila and Ashton started dating. Years after the show, ended
Michael Kelso.
We're gonna have a picnic, and I'm gonna cook for you. Oh, and we're gonna go for a ride on a rickshaw.
Kelso and Jackie's on-screen romance was one of the show's central relationships. The chemistry between Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis was undeniable, their timing perfect, their banter natural. Fans assumed they must be dating in real life, that the connection was too real to be acting. Tabloids speculated constantly about a secret relationship. But during the show's entire run, Kutcher and Kunis were never together. Kutcher dated other actresses, eventually marrying Demi Moore. Kunis had her own relationships and kept her personal life private. Their first kiss happened on that 70s show when Kunis was 14 and Kutcher was 19. It was awkward, carefully choreographed to respect her age. Nothing romantic about it. They became friends, co-workers, and nothing more. The show ended in 2006 and they went their separate ways. Kutcher's marriage to Moore fell apart. Kunis focused on her film career. They stayed in touch casually, ran into each other at industry events, and remained friendly. Then, in 2012, over a decade after they first met, something changed. They reconnected, started spending time together, and realized the chemistry wasn't just acting. They started dating, fell in love for real, got married in 2015. Fans lost their minds when the news broke. Kelso and Jackie ended up together in real life, just 15 years later than everyone expected. Their relationship proves sometimes timing is everything. The connection was always there, but they had to grow up, live separate lives, and find their way back to each other. Number 1. The show almost had a completely different ending.
I grew up here. This is really like my living room. This was like more of a...
His life, and I'm doing more shaving than ever.
Eric, I know you're scared of getting your shots.
The That 70s Show finale that aired was nostalgic, sweet, and safe. The gang counts down to midnight on New Year's Eve 1979, stepping into the 80s together. Eric returns from Africa, reunites with the group, and everyone reflects on their friendships. It's warm, satisfying, and ties everything up neatly. But that wasn't what the writers originally planned. The first version of the finale was much darker, more realistic about what actually happens to kids from Point Place, Wisconsin. Not everyone stays friends, not everyone succeeds. Some people get stuck. The original script had the group drifting apart, acknowledging that high school friendships don't always survive real life. Hyde was written to end up working at the record store permanently, his dreams of leaving Point Place dead. Fidz's immigration status became a problem, suggesting he might be deported. Kelso had already left for Chicago as a cop, barely stayed in touch. The tone was bittersweet at best, melancholy at worst. It was honest about how teenage bonds break under the weight of adulthood, geography, and diverging paths. Network executives read it and said absolutely not. Too depressing, too real, not what audiences wanted from a nostalgic sitcom. They demanded a rewrite, something hopeful that celebrated the friendships instead of mourning their end. The writers pushed back, argued their version was more truthful, more meaningful. But Fox had final say. They rewrote the finale to be happier, more conventional, less painful. The original script exists somewhere in a filing cabinet, but viewers never saw it. Sometimes the truth gets sacrificed for the feeling people want to leave with. Bonus fact: the deleted cold. Open that Fox refused to air.
I had a little hotel called a Shady Rest.
Every That 70s Show episode began with a cold open, a short scene before the credits. Most were funny, harmless, and set up the episode's theme. But one cold open never made it to air, was cut before the episode even finished post-production. In Season 4, writers crafted an opening where the gang discusses what they'd do in a nuclear war. It started funny, typical basement banter, but got progressively darker. Hyde talked about government bunkers. Fez joked about radiation. Then Eric made a comment about Hiroshima that crossed a line. The joke wasn't explicitly offensive, but it was tasteless, referencing nuclear casualties in a way that played for laughs. When producers saw the cut, they immediately flagged it. Too far, too dark, not appropriate for a sitcom about teenagers. They debated editing it, softening the punchline, but decided the entire sequence was tainted. They cut it completely, filmed a replacement cold, open about something innocuous, and buried the original. The footage still exists in Fox's archives, but it's never been released, never appeared on DVDs, never surfaced online. Cast members who remember filming it say it was funny in the moment, but watching it back felt wrong. Sometimes jokes that work in a writer's room or during filming don't survive the cold light of editing. That deleted cold open became a cautionary tale in the writer's room, a reminder that not everything is appropriate, even for a show that pushed boundaries regularly. That 70s Show didn't play it safe. It lied about ages, faked accents, and survived cancellation by looking at who was watching. If these secrets change how you see The Basement, hit like, subscribe, and tell us which fact shocked you most. Because sometimes nostalgia is built on secrets nobody wants to admit.